The Hustle Share podcast is sponsored by One CFO, the Philippines' leading fractional CFO services provider for startups, scale-ups, and SMEs. Experience the power of tech-enabled, efficient, affordable, and expert-led fractional CFO services. Let One CFO handle your finances so you can focus on growing your business. Book your free CFO consultation today.
I was reviewing thesis sa mga students, no?
Wow.
Organizing paid events for the LGU and stuff like that, just so I can earn, no? But yeah, it was really a hard decision because I still see parang mga promises na hindi ko pa na-fulfill in Iligan. But it really parang broke my heart to leave. Pero parang I'm a believer na where you at right now is where you're meant to be.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Baetiong.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Hustle Share podcast. It's finally time because this guy always appears whenever Philippine Startup Week is right around the corner. He is the hero that is super unsung, and you guys don't know how much work, blood, sweat, and tears that he has to put in just to mount that event for you. And if you see someone dying and looks like a zombie on the side, that's probably him. But again, without further ado, let's welcome to the show an OG, diba? OG ka na din. In the Philippine startup scene, the program manager of the DLSU Animo Labs, Mr. Dave Del Rosario. Whoop, whoop. Dave, welcome to the show. Finally, we're here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right. Really, really fun. And again, I wish you good luck. You're a tribute. You're a tribute. You will be you thought Philippine Startup Week is not yours anymore, and then it hunts back and comes back.
It's a yearly thing, so.
Oh man. So November, don't talk to Dave. That's why I'm doing this prior to November. We're recording this prior to November. Because he will ignore me.
Starting November 1.
Oh my God. Yeah. Halloween for Dave this a whole month. Okay. That's amazing. But before I get carried away, Dave, I need to ask you the $1 million question. Dave, what's your hustle?
And my hustle is really building the startup ecosystem, particularly those in the grassroots level. And of course, inspiring more young founders in our country.
Yes. I love it. I love that. I echo that sentiment. There's a lot of talent out there. And we can go on a tangent here and do a deep dive. I feel like a lot of the talent are misled.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they end up in the same ditches that everybody goes through. And sometimes the only way for those talents to actually have a real chance for success is on the right timing to put them in a path for success. Mm-hmm. If they napunta sila on different paths, parang, oh shit, it's gonna be hard to undo mistakes. And we can talk about this later. And I love it. And again, I love your story. I've been working with you for the longest time. Your first stint in Idea Space, then you were gone in Mindanao, and then you're back in Idea Space, and I love everything that you do. But before we get carried away, we need to dissect every single one of those stops because we're gonna have to ride the Hustle Share Time Machine. All right. So how does it feel now to be a tito in the startup community?
I'm not sure if I am already a tita because I'm just 32 years old actually. So
yun. Once you're out of the calendar, titohood na yan. Okay? Stop denying. It's inevitable. Okay? No, but I want to understand, Dave, again, you've been in the startup community. You're one of the most respected guys and one of the respected community builders. Your genuineness shines through. You can feel that from there's no agenda. Some guys in the industry have an agenda. They want to feed their ego. They want to create ruckus. They want to create drama. None of that exists with you. That's why I'm a big fan. But I want to start first with the origin story. What was it growing up like? And then what's the first exposures to hustling that you remember?
Sure. But yeah, first of all, Ron, thank you so much. No, I think this is the very first time that someone will actually record my life. And
Yeah.
I'd listen to this once siguro when I'm at 40 or 50.
Yeah. 8 years from now lang. 40.
Probably share this with my kids or my grandkids or whatever. No. But yeah, siguro to start, I was born 1992. So I'm a 90s kid now.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, I had a very great life. Not that grand. My parents were, corporate people. And siguro, I don't have like formal and specific entrepreneurial journey. But now that you ask that question, I think there are, mga certain things na medyo core memories when we talk about that, no. Since I'm a 90s kid, uso yung texts and pogs during my time, no. And parang every afternoon, mga 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., I usually play that one. So if our viewers are not familiar, mga Gen Z siguro dyan, text is like, parang a small postcard na may mga characters like
a ticket stub.
Mga anime, mga ganun. So it's like a trade game basically.
Yep.
And it's best na nilalaro sa mga streets.
Yes.
Right. So usually nagbebenta ako noon actually. 2 pesos, 3 pesos, masaya na ako. Like, I can still remember na 1 peso, isang dangkal. Yung setup, ganun. Yes, ganun. No, that's one. And, parang back then, I was really, parang I didn't know na that was business, no? That's entrepreneurial mindset. That's entrepreneurship, no? That's first, no? And then siguro, when I was like around between 15 to 18 years old, I am so obsessed with exotic animals. And mga small animals like hamster, sugar glider, hedgehogs. I was breeding those. No. Wow. And I'm selling them at the same time. During that time, parang pinakamalaking kita ko na was around 500 pesos to 1,000.
Wow.
And back then, parang, uy, ang laki na nun.
Yep.
And of course, as a 90s kid, naabutan ko naman yung baon ko 20 pesos lang or even minsan 10 pesos pagkakasyahin, diba? That was good. That was great. But parang earning around 500 to 1,000 during that time was a big deal for me. No?
Yep, absolutely.
I was so obsessed with buy and sell also. Like I'm gonna save money to buy this particular gadget. Uso pa nun dati yung iPad Nano. iPad, no? Yep. All the first gen, second gen, third gen. And then I'm gonna buy it and after a week I'm gonna use it and then sell it. And of course I just mark up. And then from my earnings I'm gonna buy again another gadget.
Roll over.
Yes. No. Until such time na yun, I started working. No? And I think those were the 3 things that that's really part of my core memories when we talk about being business minded, earning my own money, even if it's small. And it's been fun. And I think since it's part of my core memory, some of the learnings na natutunan ko during that time, I'm still applying. They're still helpful. Yeah. And it was a fun childhood, definitely.
I love it. And these are foundational skills that you really have to master. Like, the ability to actually be able to sell something. Most important thing, because regardless of where you end up in life, you're always selling something, whether it's you, your skills, your ideas, whatever. And if you get rid of the timidness or the shyness just to be able to put your word out there, that sets you up very, very well to start with. Now, I want to go to school. So obviously, I'm just going to breeze through this. I'm stalking you on your LinkedIn. You're a letranista, Dominican race. Okay, yun. St. Thomas Aquinas, pray for us. There you go. But I want to now understand what was college like? And then how did you even get exposed to the startup ecosystem right after that? Or did it happen during college?
So here's the fun thing. Letran wasn't really my first choice. Actually, wala akong like first choice in schools, no. When I was preparing for college, I was kind of like a go with the flow kind of guy. Parang whatever God brings me or what, no. I'm just taking it. So UST was really my, again, I don't have any first choice, but I had my friends lang talaga who influenced me to take exam sa UST. And that was the only university that I had entrance exam. I know you're from UST, but I was academic placement during that time. And the course they gave me was, I think, engineering and food tech or nutrition, something. But I mean, as a guy na parang walang plan, or at least parang I'm not sure where I was going at that time. I tried, but of course my parents also had their own plan. No, specifically my father. My father really wanted me to take HRM. Then parang medyo ayoko nung courses. Then I saw na, sister school, UST in Letran.
Yes.
Wala ng entrance exam if you go to Letran. Kaya during my time, parang ang branding sa Letran is parang bagsakan ng mga hindi nakakapasa sa UST. That was
what the fuck?
That was really the branding na medyo nakagisnan ko in Letran, when I started. But over 4 years of college, I realized it's more than that. No. So I took marketing management in Letran. Funny because it was really just a one-day decision. Parang, hey, sabi ng father ko, take Letran. So, pumunta ako ng Letran. And then, yun, nag-enroll na ako. And at first, he was telling me to take HRM. Then I saw yung uniform ng HRM. Parang sabi ko, hindi siya bagay sa akin. So, ganun talaga yung decision-making. The uniform won't suit me, then I don't like HRM. And then I saw the available courses. There's the marketing management, finance management. And I realized another path that my father wanted me to take was really sales. So that's, I think, the closest career sa sales. No, that's why I really took marketing management. And answering your question, how I became part of startup ecosystem. Of course, fourth year college, there's OJT and internship na.
Yep.
During my time, ang joke pa nun is parang find an OJT na hindi ka lang magtitimplahin ng kape.
Yeah.
Because most of my classmates during that time
were the best baristas.
Experience, right? So parang cutting flyers, and I told them it's part of the process.
Yeah.
I think kahit magtimpla ka ng kape at some point, you're gonna learn something. And then, again, as a happy-go-lucky, go-with-the-flow kind of guy, of course, internship, wala akong plano. No? So, I just went with my friends. And lo and behold, a group of my friends applied sa Smart during that time.
Okay.
So, I went to Smart, sent my CV, and one of my classmates got accepted.
Nice.
To Ideaspace. Kasi Ideaspace was under Smart during that time.
Correct.
Because Earl was kind of like one of the big bosses.
Yes. The OG.
The OG, of course.
The realest OG.
Earl.
Yeah.
Valencia, no? And yun, I mean, during that time, that was October 2012, November 2012. So I was really one of the first people who joined Ideaspace. But of course, during that time, I was an intern. And yun, I applied. They told me na I'll be assigned sa Idea Space
Mm.
as intern. We were 12 during that time.
Wow.
12 interns, and there was only Diane, Earl, Dustin, Martin, si Nick.
Goldie.
Gold is not yet there,
Oh,
actually.
wow.
So I came, nauna ako kay Goldie. And that was, I think, like a 3 to 4 months internship.
Wow.
During that time, I was actually, I didn't make them coffee because they have their own, this expensive coffee maker. Now it's still alive. I'm not sure if you know that. Yung one push coffee maker.
Yep.
But I did, cut some flyers.
Mm.
I did some Photoshop creatives and stuff like that.
Yep.
And most importantly, I think yung pinaka core memories during my internship was really events management. No?
Mm.
And back then, the title of my job was, as an intern, was event management intern.
Wow.
Walang
Okay.
startup during that
Ayan
time.
na, startup
Walang
weekend. Philippine
Walang-
Startup Week is knocking.
I know. I mean, startup wasn't really
Yeah.
a thing during that time, 2012. Um, I can still remember. Parang we were launching the first. Although I think that I was already an employee during that time. No?
Mm.
We were organizing the very first Idea Space competition, and I sent
Wow.
all the materials sa mga family relatives. No.
Right.
Yung mga reply nila is parang kasi parang the gist or the parang yung ma-entice yung mga tao is like,
Yeah.
okay, do you wanna become your own CEO? We have 1 million for you. So parang most of the people na sesendan ka ng creatives was like parang they see it as a prize. And I mean, personally din naman, that's what that's what I also thought.
Yeah.
Na parang, uy, may 1 million.
Mm.
It's like a game show for me
Yes.
during that time. No, and for most of the people I sent the invitation. And then yun, I think I finished internship March 2013.
Mm.
Graduation after that one. And then Miss Diane called me na parang
Mother hen.
they wanted to hire me.
Nice.
And of course, again, I was still a go with the flow kind of guy. I said yes. And they hired me as their marketing and advocacy associate.
Mm.
I was there for the last between 2013 to 2016. Or although
Yep.
I include the 2012 no.
Yeah.
Sa something, no. So that was
4
the
years.
my Philippine startup journey, Ron.
Mm.
I'm now 12 years, I think.
Wow. See, Tito nga yan. You can't be 12 years in, you'll deny you're not a Tito. Just
Well,
join
very-
us. It's fun on this side too. Okay.
Okay, give me some time.
Okay. You'll get there. But we welcome you with open arms. Okay, Tito Dave.
Okay.
No, but one last question before we take our first break. I love the narrative of how you were just really just coasting, going with the flow and whatnot. And you chance upon serendipitously one of the biggest opportunities in the country where you can actually be exposed to people who are trying to make a change in idea space, not just as an institution to support all these founders and whatnot, but also really create the tech ecosystem that was not there. It
Right.
was ground zero. But my last question before we take our first break would revolve around when did it shift for you from going from happy go lucky, go with the flow, and all of a sudden you look 12 years after. This is high conviction. This is not go with the flow, Dave. I look at the you love this shit. It really is apparent. But when did it start ticking for you that, hey, I am right where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, I always consider myself as one of the luckiest because really right after graduation, probably weeks after graduation, there was also already a job opportunity for me. Again, I didn't have any laude awards.
You don't need it.
During grade school, high school. The only award I had was loyalty award.
Yan, loyal yan. Oh. Loyalty to Dave. Oh, diba?
Loyalty award. No? but I looking back, I really, and I always do tell the people na I interact with na, I had the luckiest time during the 2013 when they offered me, not just because they offered me a job, but actually they offered me a career. They offered me a passion na parang after 12 years na nandito pa rin. So basically, it all started when, so basically ang work ko kasi was marketing and advocacy associate. I was particularly handling the technopreneurship bootcamp initiative of Idea Space.
So you're always on the road going to these schools.
Yes, that's it.
Yep. I still remember the first day I brought Idea Space vividly to UST. I'm the guy who first introduced them to Eneda, to all these guys, because they didn't know what the hell that was. So they didn't know each other exists. So, hey, I came from UST entrepreneurship. I want to give back because my school back then didn't know anything about tech startups and whatnot. I had to learn that through Sir Georgie Azurin. And then, hey, why don't you run a boot camp in that in 2012, 2013? I forgot which one. And funnily enough, 2012, 2013, you know who attended that boot camp? That is a entrepreneur now and an exited entrepreneur, Bianca Cruz Azurin.
Oh, okay.
She joined that boot camp in Idea Space. Fast forward now, she exited her own crypto startup. Oh, diba? AI crypto startup. Mind blown. So you'll never know it. You'll never know.
I know. I mean, the very first technopreneurship bootcamp happened in Ateneo Lasal, UST, the top four. But when I joined, that's when we started really going around the country.
Yep.
At first, I love my job because imagine, unang sakay ko ng aeroplano was because of Idea Space.
Wow.
We went to Naga.
Wow. 1 hour.
The very first plane na sinakyan ko was propeller.
Scary. Those bombardiers.
Scary, I know.
Okay.
But I remember that, conversation with Miss Diana Barang. It's good na your first plane is a propeller. Because you kind of like na-overcome mo agad yung fear.
Yep. And everything else is an upgrade after this.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So parang I was kind of like super happy because this job will like bring me to places for free, right? But after how many boot camps, probably after 5 to 6 boot camps, that's when the realization really came in. Na it's more than a traveling job. No. That's after we went to Davao, we went to Zamboanga, we went to Tuguegarao, these places. I met several, parang we like to call it phases of change in Idea Space.
Yep.
During that time.
They evolved too.
I mean, parang especially the students, because we interact with students mostly during the technopreneurship bootcamp, and their stories was super inspiring. But one thing that parang kind of like gave me goosebumps, made me realize that this is more than a career, this is more than a job, was when those moments na parang they were very thankful, they were very grateful that we were there.
Yes.
Because parang no one wants to go in sa mga places nila to really mentor them, to really give them the opportunity.
Yeah, and just share them what's out there, that this is a possibility.
Right? But it's sort of like we bring Manila to them, or we bring the opportunities sa kanilang city, no? And parang and medyo later na to sa journey ko na parang we go to like super far places like Surigao. It's at 16. I was in Aligan na during that time.
Yep.
16 hours travel time. Super tiring, right? But parang
16 hours can get you to the US na already on a plane.
I know, right? Of course. I mean, nothing against, I super love the ICT. The ICT was our partner during that time. Pero yung sasakyan na ginamit namin, parang on the verge of giving up.
Oh my God.
For 16 hours, we had that. No, but again, those were the moments that really built my passion towards really helping.
Makes sense.
I experienced what they were experiencing during that time. And parang alam mo, 16 hours travel, in the middle of the travel, you're gonna receive a message, SMS, text na parang they got inspired with what we did. Parang nakakawala ng pagod.
No, totally.
Overall.
So that's when it hit. Because at the end of the day, it's not just a job anymore. It's a calling. Because you know you're making an impact.
Yeah.
Right? And I would agree because again, I try to whenever you guys call me sa Kubo, unless it's really bangga with my schedule, I never say no. I say ayaw to Lilet or to Shore. But in reality, you guys know that I will fucking show up unless it's really a schedule conflict. It's because, number one, I was also inspired that same way. The reason why I became an entrepreneur is because Sir Joji Azurin made a talk in UST in 2009 talking about how to create a startup. Not even a startup, an internet business. The startup didn't even coin. And then he told me that if I became successful, I shouldn't pay him back. I should pay it forward. So whenever I get an opportunity, even though it's a hassle, it's malayo, and whatnot, I always have a mindset that I'm not trying to talk to everyone here because the numbers also speak for itself. A lot of people will be inspired. But hopefully in that crowd, there's that one person who will have a whole nother perspective in life that would actually push through.
Right.
And that for me is enough. Because at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not going to be a game of massive success. No, it's super duper hard, especially if you use tech startup as a path to get there. Pero if you already gave them a hint of what's to come, what's possible, and you inspire them to take action, not everyone will persist. But if there's one, the trip is sulit. Because that one person, if they succeed, how many jobs can that person create? How many families will they be impacted? And how many more entrepreneurs will they inspire? It's a network effect every single time. Galing. All right, now let's take our first break, and when we come back, we will not talk about Dave likes to go to far places. He went really far, going down south to work there and stay there, and then all the way back to his full circle moment, going back to Idea Space, and of course, how that led to going to DLSU Animal Labs. We'll talk about that more after the break. Hey hustlers, ever feel like your money's flowing in, but your profits are nowhere to be seen? Is managing your cash a constant source of stress, leaving you anxious about day-to-day operations? Or maybe you're holding back on growth because you're unsure if your finances are really stable. The real problem? You don't have a clear picture of your finances. Without a strategic financial partner, you're basically operating in the dark, always one step away from hidden pitfalls. But what if you had a seasoned fractional CFO who understands these challenges and gives you clear and straightforward steps to increase profits and grow steadily without the cost of a full-time CFO? That's what One CFO delivers. One CFO combines the strategic thinking of experienced CFOs with their own cutting-edge CFO tech platform, giving you transparent, real-time insights that empower you to make smart moves. They're the go-to fractional CFO partner for growing companies like Quick Insure, Avion School, J Labs, Advance, One Lot, Colorette, and Stash, helping them conquer financial challenges and achieve remarkable growth. Imagine having a crystal clear view of your financial performance and the confidence to execute bold, growth-driving strategies. Ready to level up? Click the link in the description or go to onecfoph.co. That's onecfoph.co right now to book your free no-obligation consultation. Gain clarity in your finances and grow your business with confidence. Click the link or visit onecfoph.co today. And we're back from the break. We are still with Dave Del Rosario, then told us the amazing story of how he fell in love with the fire startup ecosystem and never left. Became a lifer, but in multiple steps. So that's just part one. Again, you now are exposed to become a nationwide traveler to the far-flung areas and whatnot. And one time, I was like, whoa, Dave is not in Idea Space anymore. And I looked up, you're in Mindanao. I'm pretty sure you didn't know how to speak Bisaya back then.
I can't.
What led you to go to Mindanao, and what was there? Is it really the love for going grassroots? And of all places, why Mindanao?
Yeah, I think you already you were on point when you said na it's really the love of in grassroots levels, na grassroots places. So 2013 to 2016, again, my work with Idea Space was really to organize boot camps all around the Philippines. I think Idea Space brought me to almost like 50 provinces of 81.
Oh my God.
As I can still remember, nagbibiroan kami ni April of Cuenca. April Cuenca na parang she
Tripkada.
she had her Mission 81. Really to visit the Philippines, just to travel. Ako naman, I also have the same, but more of like really organize the boot camps there now.
Yep.
And then of course, one time we went to Iligan. Now we organized our own boot camp in Iligan. I think that was 2015. The usual, we organize a boot camp. It's a one-day thing. I brought some Manila mentors, Manila founders, no, to mentor in that boot camp. And then over dinner, I heard na they are building TBI.
Yan na. The
MSCI.
TBIs are coming. Okay.
So again, back then, parang wala naman talaga akong plano to really transfer or leave Manila. But there was that opportunity na I think would really give me the break that I need.
Yeah.
Or kind of like parang, how do I say it? Parang
higher stakes.
It would give me more inspiration. It would give me more purpose to really continue. No.
Okay.
And this time, I think I'd like to be on my own.
Love it.
Right? Kasi
that's borderline entrepreneurial na because you really wanted to level up and really start things from scratch.
Yeah. Kasi, I mean, of course, during Idea Space time, I was, of course, nasa pinakababa. And it was a good, role.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reporting kay Goldie as the lead for our ecosystem development.
Hello, Bisaya from Mindanao also. CDO, o diba?
CDO, yes. And of course, with Dayan and Dustin, we were working together. But of course, I mean, most of the things na I was doing during that time, it really came from them. Their ideas, and I was really just the executioner, the finisher of the group. No? And I realized parang I wanted to have something on my own. I want to have my own legacy.
Yeah.
And of course, parang wala nang pagdadalawang isip when they offered me the job. I already applied. I applied right away. No, the interview was online, of course, because I was in Manila. I got interviewed by the Vice Chancellor for Research and Extension, si Dr. Jinky Bornales. One of the best physicists in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after the interview, they after like 3 days siguro, they offered me the job. No, I can still super remember yung time na parang I received the text. Nakapila pa ako sa jeep dito sa may Pasay Road.
Okay.
Terminal there, going home.
Okay.
And then parang nung na-receive ko yung text, sabi ko, shit, totoo na. Alis ako ng Manila. I'm gonna start my own life.
Right.
In Iligan, in Mindanao.
Wow.
And here's what made it interesting.
Okay.
My parents didn't know.
Wala ka.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know na I applied.
And
so much more na I got accepted because sinabi ko lang sa kanila parang days later. Okay. And yung pagkakasabi ko pa sa kanila is like, punta na ako Iligan, doon ako mag-work. Plain. That plain and simple na.
Okay.
So, I mean, my parents naman were really very supportive. Even though they don't know what I'm doing. Up until now, siguro, bibigay ko sa kanila itong yung podcast and hopefully they will understand what I really do.
Right. No, don't worry. Everybody, my mom also still doesn't, she knows I'm in a podcast. What if I ask her what the podcast is? Yung nandun sa YouTube, yung sa Facebook. Before I was a chatbot. Dude, chatbot Yeah, whatever. They didn't know what the hell I was doing. That's fine. Everybody does that too.
So I started working there Labor Day of 2016.
Holiday pa. Okay.
Holiday. And as you said, I don't know how to speak Bisaya. Worse is I don't know anyone there.
Oh man.
As in, like, I mean, siguro those people na who offered me the job, of course. Some, friends that I met during the boot camp na naging friends na rin. Yun nga. So, it was really kind of like parang starting from scratch. At what? At 21 years old. Or, no. 22 years old. Or 23 years old na. I was, that was the age when I transferred sa Iligan.
Yeah.
And then of course from there, parang I told myself na parang everything I learned sa idea space, I will just really apply. And because I thought I thought na it's really gonna work. Because especially because startup in Iligan during 2016 was also totally new.
Yep.
Right? As in, if you talk to people about startup, parang walang may alam.
Yep.
Most especially because it's Iligan, right? I mean, up until now, if I tell this story, some of the questions that I'll get, where's Iligan? I always tell them, it's still in the Philippines.
Northern Mindanao naman kasi, guys. Where the...
Exactly.
Ayan.
And so 2016 to 2019, December 2019, I was there. I was the first TBI manager of the of IDEA. I was also the one who really coined that name. Really built it from scratch. Although I mean, of course, there was already the proposal approved by DOST. It's a DOST P-Shirt funded TBI. It was also
Shout out, Ma'am Ras and Engineer Paul. Ayan.
Yeah, it was also one of the OGs kasabayan ni Kubo during that time.
Right.
2016. No, we were only, I think, 10 or 12 during that time. And yun, I mean, during my Iligan days, yun yung parang moment na really validated that I am in the right place.
This is where the conviction really happened.
Exactly. And I didn't know na I could be an inspirational kind of person.
Love it.
I'm gonna, kasi my work is really not just, again, as what you've said a while ago, my work was not to find startup founders. No, it was mostly to inspire, right? And give them that opportunity. And because who knows, diba, after, working with them, baka they will create their own startups, right? Who knows? But really going back, parang it was a fun journey, but at the same time full of medyo ang daming mga moments na delikado.
Yikes.
Number one, because Marawi Siege happened.
Oh my God.
And if you guys are not familiar with, Marawi Iligan, it's just an hour away.
Whew.
It's like you from Makati to Tagaytay. Kasi Tagaytay, because it's really bundok.
Yep.
Talagang pataas, no? And I can still remember a week before Marawi Siege, I had the talk sa MSU Marawi. So I remember the day one of Marawi Siege, we had our, incubation program. I think that was also kickoff. RT was there, and it was day one of Marawi Siege. Lockdown, of course, so many checkpoints, and syempre, we had to consider the safety of our guests, no? We had to cancel, but of course, hindi naman siya naging madali because we have to coordinate pa with the LGU because we have a guest, kailangan na namin silang pauwiin, may mga lockdowns, may mga checkpoints, may mga nag-close na cities, no? So we really had to make those kind of arrangement, no? But all throughout Marawi Siege, I was there. I still experience yung 7 p.m. curfew, and my class ends up. So I was also a teacher, part-time teacher in Iligan in MSU IIT. I handled technopreneurship sa mga engineering students. That was for like, I think 2 to 3 years, no? So my class ends at 7:30, but the curfew was 7 p.m. So we really had to end the class early. And of course, yung mga chismis na parang, uy, meron daw bomba, may planong sunugin yung illegal. And I can't leave because number one, parang lockdown, walang flight. Sorry, hindi ka pwedeng lumabas.
You're stuck there.
Like from 1 hour trip going to the airport, from Iligan to the airport, it became like 5 hours to 6 hours because of the traffic, because of the lockdowns and all. No? But of course, most importantly, we really had to continue the operation. MSUIT is a state university. They use their campus as, parang evacuation center. So that made it medyo mas nakakaba. Kasi we never know, baka may mga ICs na sumama sa evacuation centers, tapos biglang manggulo and whatnot, no? But I think that was the most interesting days in my Iligan. But overall, I spent my time there for almost 4 years. I left 2019 December, just right before COVID, no? And then of course, from there, I learned how to speak Bisaya. That was
Bisdak ka na.
Yeah, I became parang multilingual kind of person already. And parang Iligan brought me to the United States.
Love it.
Why? Because I used that story to apply sa YSEALI, yung Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, no. I was academic fellow, and that story became part of why I was accepted, no, to join the YSEALI. It's not as if I use Mindanao, no. But of course, the work that we did during that time, they saw it, no? And they brought us to United States. I was academic fellow. I was assigned sa University of Connecticut, studying for a month lang naman. So entrepreneurship and economic development. So it has been, I mean, I always tell people na Iligan is home more than Manila.
Wow.
Because from there I did not only learn how to speak Bisaya. I learned how Bisaya people really parang live, no, and parang especially the ecosystem there. I super love. I parang medyo hindi naman sa pagmamayabang, pero parang sumikat yung ginawa naming hashtag para sa Mindanao. Battle cry in IDEA na parang it ginamit na siya ng ibang mga enablers, no? And ultimately, I mean, we were genuine naman. My team during that time was really genuine in terms of like really doing it para sa Mindanao, because there are so many opportunities. So there's so many talents in Iligan City. If you guys only know, no, na sobrang daming talented people. And when it comes to tech, sobrang dami din. Like the CS student, the business student in MSUIIT, super brilliant, no? But what they need during that time was really the opportunity. And we brought that to them when we started IDEA.
That's amazing. And again, that's why I recognize it, kasi ang dami. There's just so many great talent. And Mindanao is just one spot. There's so many more, but sometimes what the opportunities that are lacking is not just a lack of opportunities, it's the mindset of how good they can possibly be. Right? And yeah, that's why programs like you guys, especially with what you built in IDEA, are there. So I think sina French na ba yan now?
Prestige. Yeah. French is CDO.
There you go. So those guys, Northern Mindanao, doing really well. Very well known. But Dave, before we talk about your second stint back in Kubo Idea Space, I want to discuss a real topic that's really here. What do you think is the main difference in pros and cons of not just Mindanao-based startups and regional-based startups, and the ones that you see here that are taking headlines? Because the reason why I want to talk about this is I believe there is a bit of misleading information and polarization, a bit of resentment, versus, hala, mga taga Manila yan, they're the ones that are getting startups, they're getting funded, versus homegrown startups, which I think are brilliant, but there's just some foundational things that are also lacking. That's why you don't get to unlock it. Because I cannot name 10 startups from homegrown that came from, say, a TBI level that have been able to raise successfully a decent round without getting fleeced,
Right.
without giving too much of equity from the
Yep.
get-go. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just naive. I'm happy to be wrong here. But what do you think are the biggest differences on why this exists? Because my biggest worry here is that this gap of homegrown versus the best of the best na napapund doesn't mean that they're successful. Napapund lang sila. Widens and widens and widens. And if we don't bridge it, you'll have there will be two class citizenships within a startup ecosystem. I think will always exist, but you want to bridge them together, not tear them apart. What do you think about that?
I mean, siguro I'm gonna speak wearing my enabler's hat, no. And to be very honest, over the last 12 years, I didn't see it that way, right?
Nice.
Mainly because ang trabaho nga namin was really to bring opportunities to this grassroots, to this homegrown companies, no. And from there, parang it kind of like leveled the playing field, although not totally. But you know, people from Mindanao don't need to go to Manila anymore to pitch,
Yeah.
find investment, right? To find good mentors, no. But one thing I realize all throughout this one is parang if you happen to meet startups in Iligan, in Zamboanga, in Tuguegarao, they're actually solving problems na sila mismo nakaka-experience.
Correct.
Because it is happening in their ecosystem. It is happening in their province. No, I'm not saying na Manila founders they don't experience the problems they're solving, but what I'm trying to say is like the founders in these areas, in this grassroots levels, they are much closer to the problems they're trying to
Totally
solve.
agree. Totally
Right.
agree.
But of course, the gap is still parang investment, advanced opportunities to really push their ideas forward. But I think other observation, working with different provinces, no, is that mainly students, no, is that they are they're best at starting ideas, but in terms of pushing it forward, that's where the challenge starts, no. Mainly because of course when we talk about startup in Mindanao, the very first question siguro their parents or their friends will ask is that would that bring food to the table?
Yes.
Right? And simple answer, it's not. No, it's not gonna bring food to the table. No. And that's kind of like what we like to address. Right? And medyo guilty ako rito na parang during the early days, we always tell na startup is cool.
Yep.
Start, right? But lately, medyo real talk na.
like a speaker crying during Philippine Startup Week, ganun ba? In 2023 that he wasn't supposed to cry and he was crying in front of everybody.
Alam ko yan. alam ko yan.
I don't know anybody doing that. Okay, there's only one idiot who did that.
I wasn't there in the room, but I heard.
Yeah.
I heard that one.
Yeah.
So we give them real talk na talaga. Parang startup is not cool. It's not for everyone.
No, it's cool, but it's extremely hard.
Yes,
it's life
definitely.
on hard. It's like Hall of Fame mode. Ganon kahirap.
Right. Yeah. And of course, parang again, we're trying to level up the playing field, no. But definitely, I think what it takes to really kind of like close the gap,
yeah,
is to capacitate more founders in grassroots levels, no, to be as competitive as the Manila Founders. Kasi usually it's just a mindset eh. Parang, uy, taga Manila kasi sila, so mas better sila. When in
Yes.
reality, it's actually not. So I'd like to answer that question. It's all about mindset. I
I
think
agree.
they
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I think they just really have to kind of like really believe in their potential, and do not compare themselves sa mga Manila startup founders. Of course, Manila startup founders are different kind of animals. Like they started their startup with everything, no, all kinds of mentorship opportunities and events versus Mindanaoan startup founders. But I mean, I'd like to say na the time has changed. It's no longer the case, and you don't need to operate in Manila to get funding. All you need to do is really just to believe in that product or in that idea. But make sure you're also solving a problem, and make sure you're not doing it because you want to have a job.
Yeah.
Right? You want to become a millionaire. Right? Ultimately, you should be doing this one because you want to solve a problem.
Right.
Not sure if that makes sense or that answers.
No, it does. I totally agree. But I want to add to that, and I want to run this by you. All right, and we're going deep into this thing now before we talk about it. I feel, kasi Dave, that your right mindset is missing. And mindset comes from one point first. It's ambition. How big do you want this to be? And again, I got this from Kat Chan. See, the reason why I called PNA Podcast Network Asia, not Podcast Network Philippines. Because imagine, I call my company PNP. O, di ba? Police na kami. Okay. Right? Is after I sold Chatbot PH, she said, like, hey, one of the biggest problems of Filipino startups is that they don't have, for founders, Filipino startup founders, is that they don't have a global mindset. Because in order for you to win in the Philippines, she said that you kind of can't just be stuck with Philippines alone, especially if you're just going to go hyper regional. If you're going to take note, if you're going to take, if your goal is to use external funding, you're going to be just fine being a lifestyle startup. And there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, that using profit as a means to solve a problem and being the regional dominant player there's nothing wrong with that. But Dave, where I feel like where there's something missing, and let me know what you think about that. Again, happy to be wrong here. Is in terms of mindset, I feel like it starts muna with ambition. And in order for you to see ambition, you need to see the whole horizon and how good you can possibly be. Also, sizing yourself up versus your peers. Diba? I feel, and this is my thesis that I want to solve soon. Just watch out. Because I have a bias. Okay? But I'm right smack at the middle of the best of the best. The ones that are the Sunicorns. Ayan, mga Sunicorn founders. The ones who are at the very top of the food chain, where they have access to funding, they have the hype, they have the legacy, blah 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 blah. But they're also the most scrutinized because the target's on their back, and also the local grassroots. Dude, I came from there, but I had to unlearn a lot of the things and make sound like them, behave like them. The Sunicorn founders, Amboys, Afams. So I speak like this because I needed to give myself a shot. And the only reason why my ambition changed is because I got exposed for a very long time. I feel, Dave, now if you're starting as a startup founder or you want to become a startup founder and you don't have conviction yet that you can solve the problem you care about the most, the safest route where it ticks the box of number one, can this put food on the table? Number two, will you be able to execute fast enough to really solve the problem and understand what it takes to operate a startup? And number three, have ambition that, you know what, I can do it, and meet the right co-founders to help you solve that problem. I feel like the healthy middle ground, Dave, is to work for another tech startup muna. Because, number one, you de-risk yourself. You're sweldo ka naman eh, right?
Right.
Pero you're there to train to become a Mamao founder. In 2 to 3 years in a startup is equals to 7 years in a normal job.
Right.
And then when you're ready na, You're a second generation startup founders because that's a trope that I've also been seeing lately. Mga ex-Lazada, ex-Zalora, ex-whatever, ex-Grab. Perfect example, Mary Martirez. Tried it. First time founder. Failed. Worked in Kumu. After Kumu, boom. Mamaw. There's that path.
Sure, yeah.
How can you change your mindset if you don't know how good you can possibly be?
Right.
Or what it takes to execute? And the type of people startups also want are founder-like thinkers and doers.
Right.
So if you're in a grassroots and you feel insecure na, paano ba to gawin? Because no matter how much theory you think of, and if you're not sure yet, because I had to did my path, bro, went through that. I went all in. My God, the amount of mistakes. I'm Hall of Fame. The type of shit that I had. Hindsight being 2020, I would have actually worked for a startup muna. I actually did, pero I jumped in too quick.
Right. I mean, that was definitely a good advice. No, parang if you think you're not capable right now, but you think you have what it takes. No?
Yes. Kasi here's the other thing, Dave. If you're grassroots, anak mahirap ka like me. If you fail, you probably feel like you only have one shot. And if you fail, ayaw mo na ulit. That's what separates the ones that come from privilege. If they fail, okay lang, try ulit. I have nothing to lose. Tayo, if you came from hirap, one and done yan. And if you already break that passion and that soul that you have for solving that problem, if you came in too quickly, you'll probably least likely to become a repeat founder.
Yeah.
That's what breaks my heart. Na, you know what? That guy would have been great. Kaso he jumped in too quick, didn't have the tools that he needed right away, and ayaw na after. Broke his dream. Sayang yung problem. Sayang yung startup. Sayang yung founder. Diba? So,
it's kind of make it or break it kind of deal talaga.
Yeah, you only have one shot eh.
Yeah, I mean, I really parang agree with you, especially, parang looking back during my Iligan days. Parang even during their, college days, they were really forced to kind of like get already a paying job.
Yeah, you have to contribute eh.
To sustain, especially their school. Even if it's a state university, there's still some fees that they need to settle. And some of them parang they can't or they don't have the capacity to really parang build their dreams because they're forced to work.
Yeah, breadwinner mentality agad.
Exactly. No. It was really a make or break kind of for them. No? And most of them talagang they don't make it. Kasi nga parang they are still trying to get the balance of this is my passion and this is paying me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't go together talaga.
Exactly.
So, and that's what makes it sad talaga. And not just in the Philippine startup ecosystem context, I think. Generally.
Everywhere. Yeah. Because I feel like the real unicorn that will come from the Philippines will come from someone who's grassroots. That experiences a problem that's personal to them that people of privilege do not care about or do not understand.
Right. Exactly.
Dun siya manggagaling. Because if you need to be equipped with world-class mindset and skills and network. You need to get from the best of the best and learn how they do it so that you can bring it back to where you come from. And it's not zero sum. Kasi what I'm seeing is, wala, mga ano kayo dyan eh. Mga you get funded, you're not like us. That mentality will just create a bigger rift and nobody wins in the end. Yun. Okay, last question before we take our last break. This is going to be a quick read-through. Idea Space, COVID. Why did you go back and what was the Dave 2.0 of Idea Space when you got that?
I have to be honest here. I came back because the project ended. And during that time, I was job order.
Got it.
And when you are job order, salaries are delay.
Nako.
I experienced 3 months no salary.
Uy, that's like what a founder is, ah. Welcome to the club.
No, I mean, like, the bad thing there is like you have a contract. You should be earning every month, right?
Yeah.
My parents didn't know about that, but parang medyo, yun nga parang may mga moments na parang, entrepreneurial yung ginawa ko. Kasi parang during
Yeah,
that
it is.
months na walang salary, I took on some, side rackets.
Yep.
Like I was reviewing thesis sa mga students, no?
Wow.
Doing organizing paid events for the LGU and stuff like that. Just so I can earn, no? But yeah, it was really a hard decision because I still see parang mga promises na hindi ko pa na-fulfill in Iligan. But it really parang broke my heart to leave. Pero parang I'm a believer na where you at right now is where you're meant to be.
Correct.
Because during January, I started January with January 2020. Yeah, January 2020 sa Kubo, no. And everybody knows what happened in 2020.
Yep.
Right? Not just COVID, taal pa lang.
Yep.
Because nung bumalik ako sa Manila, I tumira ako sa Batangas. I was from Tanawan. And Tanawan is like within the 10 kilometers radius ng Taal volcano. So we really had to evacuate. And then of course COVID, no. And then I realized parang if COVID happened and I was still in Iligan. And of course during COVID, diba, no flights, lockdown, as in bawal lumabas. And wala akong sahod.
Patay.
During that time. Lagot, no. Parang ano na lang ang kahihinatnan. So that's why parang it was really, I think, destiny who really brought me back to Manila.
Yeah.
And I always tell myself man during that time na you are leaving because mas matutulungan mo yung Mindanao if you're outside Mindanao.
Correct.
Right? Because I can always bring opportunities. And that's what I did when I worked with Kubo, no. So 2020 to 2024, I was with Kubo. 5 years. I took on multiple roles.
Yep.
I started as the senior program lead, where we handled this project called TBI 4.0.
Yep.
With the USTP shared. It's more of like capacitating the OG TBIs.
Yeah.
For 2 years. And then later, I became the head of community and ecosystem. That was during the merge of Idea Space and Kubo back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, as a head of community and ecosystem, yun yung talagang parang sobrang every week parang nagta-travel kami. So, it
during
was
the pandemic that was mask era.
Yes. Nung nag-open up na ulit yung mga airports, no? So, I think it was really still Idea Space who continued my journey to parang visit the entire Philippines, no? Kasi Kubo was under Idea Space during that time. So, as a head of community and ecosystem, different programs, of course, continue pa rin, like boot camps, conferences, workshops. This time with students na, with LGUs, with teachers na and LGUs and not just students. No? And then I became the head of operations, HR and admin, or the head of OPRA. Term namin during that time. And then during that time, mas naging nasa backroom ako. So I was kind of like keeping the day-to-day operation of the office, no?
Right.
And that was also the moment when they assigned Philippine Startup Week.
Yeah, na. The monkey's on his back.
The beginning of me really handling Philippine Startup Week. Of course, shout out to Kat Chan and Tasha Bautista. Right?
Shout out.
Really starting Philippine Startup Week together with the agency. So from 2019 to 2021, I was just part of the team handling Philippine Startup Week.
Yep.
And then of course 2022 up until now, I'm the lead. No. So I think that was really kind of like medyo seryoso na yung nangyari during Kubo days, because really it's nation wide programs. It's really parang community building kind of programs. I was more in the community side because inside Kubo during that time, there's a department handling community and ecosystem, which is me. And then there's a department handling the startup development where all the incubation programs were happening.
I love it. Okay, now let's take our last break, and when we come back, we will now talk about the Kubo hustle and all the way how again he left. Babalik po kaya siya sa Kubo. But again, he left that and then obviously did all that hustling experience to DLSU Animal Labs. But let's talk about that more after the break.
Hey hustlers, before we resume the episode, let me tell you a very quick secret. Do you guys ever wonder how we're able to consistently release episode after episode here in Hustle Share without missing a date over the past 3 years? Well, it's not just pure hustle, because I'm also running my podcast along with me running my startup full time. Now, for some of you who have listened to this podcast, you guys very well know that I created a startup that is designed to help the best podcasters in Southeast Asia to realize their full potential, which is called Podcast Network Asia. And over the past couple of years, we've achieved quite a lot in P&A, helping hundreds of podcasters create world-class episodes consistently. However, what we realize is that we are not really solving the real problem of all podcasters in the world if we're not going to productize the thing that we're very good at, which is helping podcasters solve the two main pain points of a podcaster, which is number one, nobody really likes to edit their own show. Especially if you're listening to your own voice. Just like me, I cringe a lot. Having to listen to my voice for 3 to 4 hours just to release a 1-hour episode. It's no fun. And then the other thing is that most podcasters, just like me, are absolutely clueless on how to properly grow their show, which is something that we have perfected in Podcast Network Asia. So we've decided to put this all in one product that helps any podcaster in the world create world-class shows that people will love and will continuously grow. And that's why we created PodMachine. PodMachine is the most affordable podcast subscription service that helps you with your podcasting needs. We've got everything from audio production, crafting designs, and marketing and growth support. So as a podcaster, you can now just focus on the thing that matters the most, creating great content for your listeners. So, if you are an existing podcaster or someone that actually wants to create their podcast now, no need to worry. You got a founder's discount by listening here on Hustle Share. So sign up now at podmachine.com. And aside from the free trial that you're going to get as a new user, I'm throwing in another one free edit as soon as you sign up for just as low as $49.99 USD a month to start creating a consistent and world-class podcast. Again, that's podmachine.com and use the code HustleShare to get your founder discount. So if you have friends that are podcasters and if you want to have a podcast just like this, y'all know what to do. So just go and talk to you guys in PodMachine.
And we're back from the break. We are still with Dave Del Rosario and told us the amazing hustle of how he now went back to Kubo. But before we talk about DLSU Animal Labs, 2020 all the way to 2024 was like 2 to 3 eras of startup boom and bust during that span. I want to get your POV here, Dave, because you see 2020, 2021, man, everybody was getting funded. That's the most money that was flown into this ecosystem. And all of a sudden, aside from Idea Space, before, kayo lang, you guys in Kickstart, few angels. Now there's real VCs, Kaya, Foxmont, Gobi, Gentry, and all that, right? From your POV, those startups that made funding, for those grassroots people, I'm one of those people that got funded, and I'm like you. Di ako amboy. I grew up in Kamuli. Okay? I'm grassroots. So it's not impossible. What did those startups that were able to get funding? Because I'm pretty sure you've been into IC conversations as well. IC, for those people, ano yan, parang the grand jury of who gets
Correct,
funded
correct.
and who doesn't, and they discussed why they should fund and actually cut a check and not. And you've also been exposed to Sinigang Valley, where other VCs also discuss these things. What are the tropes of startups and founders and the products that they've created for those problems that they wanted to solve? What are the composition that they have of why they got funded versus those ones that are not being funded? Because you've seen all the sides that are out there.
Probably quick answer there is they listened.
Mm.
No, I'm not saying na those who didn't get funding, they didn't listen. Probably they did, but they were too in love with their ideas.
Yeah.
Now, while they listened, they still, parang kind of like went against what the investor or this VCs are trying to say na. Kasi if you're investing, of course, if you're getting investment, we have to note na it's no longer just you, but there's the investors.
Correct.
Right? It's like really relationship. Na parang you're kind of like bringing a partner in your life as a startup.
Yeah. Worse than a marriage. They're stuck with them forever unless you buy them out.
I know, right? And siguro going back dun sa mentality ng mga grassroots, no? And again, this is speaking from experience, no?
Yeah.
Most of the startup founders, young startup founders na meet ko over the last 12 years, especially outside Metro Manila, they are super obsessed with investment. No? Na parang 2 months, 3 months in, or like operating their startup, they already wanted to have investment, or they're already keen on talking to investors. I am guilty of that as an incubator manager in IDEA. Parang lagi kong sinasabi, at some point parang, uy, let's bring in investors here. Let's meet, let's have them meet our startups. Then later on I realized, and this was parang I was in Cuba na during that time, yung realization na is parang, is it really the right time to talk to the investor? Right? Or maybe rather than being obsessed getting investment or talking to investor, why not validate first your idea? Why not kind of like do your problem solution fit first? No.
Yep.
But going back, I think they really listened to what the investors would want to say. No. Because at the end of the day, you are you're asking for money from these people. And it's sort of like, okay, kung ano yung sabihin nila, they think na it's best for, not just for them, but also for your startup. Then they will invest, no? But siguro just to add to that, most founders that I witness getting funding, they're not super in love with their idea. Versus those na parang really didn't get funding as of now. Because if you're in love, diba, we all know naman, sobrang tigas na ulo natin.
Yep, you're irrational.
Exactly. No. So that's my take, Ron. I think just listen and don't fall too deeply with your startup, especially if you're investing.
No, totally agree.
Investment.
Totally agree, because again, your idea, that will evolve. You need to be obsessed with the problem.
Exactly.
Dun ka dapat in love solving that problem, because there's so many ways to solve a problem. And if you're not going to be humble to know that, oops, I'm wrong, and pivot right away and change direction to get there, then it's going to be very difficult.
It's all about the why, right? And parang every time when I was in Iligan, every time I close a bootcamp, my last message to them is parang, I borrowed this from some key enablers, no, from Carlo Calimon. Sabi niya parang, ang nakakita ng hindi nakikita ay siyang kikita.
Wow.
Not sure if you've heard it from him.
No, that's the first time.
And then second is parang from Prim Paipon. And ito yung parang goosebump up until now pag sinasabi ko. Ang hapdi at sakit ay nagiging kaakit-akit, depende sa bakit.
Why do they all sound like Makata?
It's all about, exactly, right? Exactly. It's all about the why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? What's the problem you're solving? And that's what you should really be focusing more.
No, I love it. I just find it really Amazing that they did it with the rhymes. They have bars
Exactly.
when they say
Diba?
no,
So,
but it's true. It's true. But I want to add to this too. Knowing what I know now, I've been a founder the same length. No, I've been a founder since 2010, 15 years. And knowing what I know now, the trajectory of your startup is also directly parallel to your ability to grow fast as a founder. Because a lot of times you are the limiting factor to your startup. And
Mhm.
you're also how big and how fast it can be. So if you don't evolve with your startup, not just on skills, there's so many skills, hard skills, soft skills, networking skills, everything else. Or you're the most one of the biggest litmus tests that I see, Dave, rarely talked about is can you assemble a great team? I don't care how
Mhm.
good you are as a founder. If you're a solo Chuck Norris solo founder and you're trying to solve a behemoth of a problem, how will you entice clients to believe you, to pay you? How will you entice investors if that's your end game to get investment to get you there? You need to be able to persuade people to trust you when you have nothing.
Right.
And you need to prove that, and that also will come competency, confidence, clarity, and dami. And you need to evolve fast as a founder and be
Right.
super duper humble yet
Yes.
confident.
Yes.
You need to balance that out because if you go too much on the confident side, you will show hubris. Now you think you're better than everybody else, and when the only constant in startup life is humble pie. You will always be humbled by your startup. I don't care how
Correct.
good you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
The tide will turn and it'll smack you right in your face, and your your teeth will be punched in. It's going to be very difficult. But if you're humble, yet you're confident that you'll get there, you believe with 1,000% conviction, and equip yourself with the necessary skills that it takes. It's there, and that's why the best path to get there, you'd be surprised how many of the best founders are actually willing to help. Pero
Mm.
they're not. This is where it also find a lot of grassroots founders weird. Like when you say you have a mentor, it's not that mentor's responsibility to chase your ass.
Mhm.
You need to be the one hounding them as if they owe you money
Right.
because they're busy. I remember when in Kubo, you guys do the si Lilith, Shore, and all
Mentor
these
and
guys.
resident.
Mentor in residence would chase us to find a time that works for people, along with a startup founder who's grassroots most likely. And our biggest pet peeve is there's most likely a 50-50 chance the mentee will not show up.
Yeah. Yep. That usually happens talaga. Yeah.
I'm like, what the actual fuck? Right? If ngayon pa lang, mentor-mentee pa lang, ganyan ka na.
What more?
And this you're doing this to a fellow founder. The mentors are mostly founders also. That speaks volumes of what type of founder you are. And it sets the wrong tone every time. So, these are the things that I wanted to add. And I totally agree with you. But,
I think this also add genuineness is also super important.
yeah.
I think you have to be genuine at what you do because they're just exploiting the farmers. They're just using, fisher folks sa ano nila, diba, sa startup. Genuineness is really something
Yeah.
I'd say would put you on the top.
No, for sure. And it's not going to be easy. If it's hard, you're in the right path.
Yes.
Welcome to the game.
Never easy,
Yeah.
I mean, I rarely see founders na pag ang tanong ko ay kamusta, they're gonna say na, oh, we're happy or good. No,
Man, Startup Weekend, Philippine Startup Week nga, may umiiyak sa stage, di ba?
Well,
will always be the most legendary.
You know what? I'm hanapin ko yung recording na yun.
Happy to actually do it, actually. Because
hanapin ko yung recording na yun.
2025 version of us is the complete opposite.
Yeah, right.
We're way better now. Anyway, we were going a tangent. We haven't even talked about DLSU Animal Labs. You're doing
I-
super well, Dave, in Idea Space. And again, if Iligan felt like home, I'm pretty sure Idea Space felt like home also. But what led you to then do another entrepreneurial jump, but this time going archer-wise in Top Avenue, okay? To lead the DLSU Animal Labs, who prior already had a very great reputation as one of the best TBIs in the country.
Sa Kubo, Ron, we always tell our team, no, na you're not gonna be forever here sa Kubo.
Yep.
And of course, Kubo and other enablers will also not be forever here, right? So parang there's always this question at the back of our head. What's next after Kubo? And, parang 5 years later, that question became more apparent na parang mas lagi ko na siyang tinatanong sa sarili ko. Like, okay, 5 years na ako dito eh. So, what's really next? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm super enjoying. I mean, we've been laughing about Philippine Startup Week, but I so love this initiative.
Mahal mo nga. Because even if you suffer through it.
I know, right? I really want to make this happen because I believe in the initiative.
Yeah.
Right? And same with Kubo. No, parang I didn't leave because I already hate the job. Yes, it's very parang mentally, emotionally consuming and all, no. But it was a great job. It was a great role. But it already kind of like parang I started asking myself, now what's really next after Kubo? Because we know naman na Kubo is really parang always, there's always the possibility na any TBIs like Kubo and Animal Labs will close if will not fundraise.
Yeah.
Right? If will not become sustainable. And so, lo and behold, I met si Kay San Pablo. She used to be the country manager of Canva in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
And I brought her in Iligan. That's why nagkakilala kami. And then in that meeting, parang apparently she was kind of like a consultant of Animo Labs. And during that time, bago yung leadership, si Attorney Mike David. No? And of course, Attorney Mike wasn't really that into Philippine startup ecosystem, although he's a blockchain kind of guy, no. So I met Kay and parang sabi ko, so of course the usual, parang I'm not madamot naman when it comes to like sharing best practices, what I learned over the last years, diba? So I shared with her, parang here's what you need to do, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the conversation, tinanong ko, are you guys hiring? Are you guys hiring? Because parang it looks like this is the kind of job I want because it's building something technically from scratch kasi it's a new team, right? And I'd like to say na that's my domain expertise na parang really developing something from scratch.
Yep.
Really kind of like creating programs, building programs, initiatives, etc. And then ayun, doon na nag-start. And I think the universe brought me to the greener side. Literally. The greener side of things. Because
bakit mo iniwan Dominicans? How dare you?
Since 2012, I was consultant. Job board. And ano yung ibig sabihin nun? It means job security is I've been chasing doon sa tenor and security. Right? It was only 2020 when I started receiving 13th month pay. Imagine that.
Wow.
2020.
Wow.
Because of Kubo, kasi kahit consultant kami, we were receiving, right?
Yeah.
But even prior to that, parang, sana all merong 13th month pay. Right?
Founders say that too. Sana all sana all my pang 13th month pay because this is the most stressful time of the year. We pay twice, my God. Okay.
So, ayun. And then, going back. So, parang, as consultant, as job order, it was hard to kind of like think about the future. What really next after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years now? And then of course, that there's that promise in the LSU.
Nice.
Again, I was looking for, parang something na This time I was thinking about myself.
Yeah.
No, kasi it's been like what 11 years since it's always about the community. No, sabi nga nila, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
Right? So kind of like parang that pushed me to kind of like look for a job na talagang medyo dyan na yung security at tenure na tinatawag. Right?
Yep.
And again, there's that LaSalle.
No.
So LaSalle Animo Labs is basically under the Science Foundation of DLSU.
Okay.
Siguro just to laymanize this, that it's the endowment fund of DLSU. That's where all the donation comes in. And Animo Labs is under that. So I'm currently the program manager of Animo Labs. And just like the usual TBI, wala namang bago eh. I mean, walang secret sauce sa mga TBIs in the Philippines. We incubate startups. But of course, our domain, our territory is really DLSU.
Got it.
The DLSU, not just in Manila, but the entire DLSU system now. So,
Yeah, but is there a difference there? Because obviously DLSU is easily one of the top 4 schools. Okay, bahala na kayo what ranking. You guys always fight over this. Basta kami pang 4th kami lagi. UST. Whoever's in the top 3, bahala kayo dyan. Basta dito kami pang 4th. We're in the podium still. Bronze medalist. Okay? Now, but I want to understand now, what's different that in terms of number one, type of founders that you get from the DLSU system. So obviously they have DLSU TAF and all these things. My wife from DLSU to DASMA. So yeah. So and within the DLSU system, what I see is that there's also there's very different types of founders across all these campuses as well. But also the resources, since it's a DLSU ecosystem, are I guess better than a traditional TBI, say in the middle of, say, Region 8 or whatnot na malayo. What are you guys getting in terms of founders here, and what are the type of startups you guys are developing within Animo Labs?
Yeah. So just a quick disclaimer, I started working with Animo Labs just last January of this year.
Okay.
So siguro 10 months in or 11 months in na. So I am still really discovering what DLSU has to offer when we talk about startup. But 10 months in, I realized we realized na it's not just the student startups that we can incubate, right? But there are also spin-offs na tinatawag. Because there are so many spin-offs in DLSU that needs help sa commercialization nila. And that's kind of like part of our focus. Right? So it's not just students, but also spin-offs. No? But again, I mean, I'm not saying now we already have like an established program for spin-offs.
Yeah.
LaSalle does have, no? Meron silang mga spin-off projects na talagang it's been there. No? But that's what we're trying to also do with Animo Labs. Work together with these centers who are supporting spin-offs, no? Merge with them. And also, of course, parang our expertise also to extend sa mga spin-offs na to. No? But another thing that I realized, sobrang laki ng DLSU at sobrang innovation offices. No? And right now, I think we need to find ways on how to identify these startups. Because one way or another, may mga startups na talagang established na but hindi pa kilala ng ecosystem. Or
like who?
Sesame is one.
What's Sesame? I've never heard of Sesame.
Exactly, right? So they're doing a great job because it's a platform where you can buy yung mga nasubasta na bahay. Ng SIS, na PhilHealth, no. They're doing a great job, but they're doing it silently, no.
And those are the ones that are really doing well.
Exactly, right?
The ones that are silent and they're just chugging along, don't flex, walang ganto, walang ganyan, are the ones who are killing it.
Right? So parang those are the kinds of founders na meet ko, no, over the last 10 months. But of course, there are also founders na medyo loud and proud.
Yeah.
Right? And yun yung parang mas gusto ko ring tutukan, of course, as program manager na, especially if we see potential dun sa idea and dun sa founder themselves, no? So I think we still yet to discover how we can really parang attract this silent founders or this startups na talagang building over several years already, and of course we do that through our programs. We're also we're also industry agnostic, and that's also something that we still have to discover, parang how or what kind of industry can the LaSalle ecosystem support.
Got it. And do they have to be LaSallian, Dave? Kailangan ba may...
Ideally, yes. Mainly because the funding that we're using came from, the DLSU office, the
Got it.
Science Foundation. No? But I mean...
Do they have to sound like Dude Parechong? Okay.
For some reason, for the last 10 months, siguro once or twice ko palang narinig yan sa mga...
Okay, like parang...
It might be a generational thing.
Just kidding.
It might be a generational thing. So I don't know. But it's really open to everyone.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. Now, all right. Before we let you go, that was just an amazing episode. And I'd love to talk to you guys about this with more TBI creators. So
Right.
what's exciting you about what's to come in Animo Labs and how you guys participate more actively? Because I also see this thing called Scale NCR, and I think that I'm going to have them... is this again? What is Scale NCR? How do you participate there? And doesn't that solidify this further? Now you guys are collaborating with each other with like the ones from my UST peers. Shout out Sir Aban and Sir Benjamin. Ayan.
Definitely, we're mostly collaborating than competing this time.
Pag you up lang, nag-aaway-away.
Pag you up lang talaga,
bastokan.
Bastokan. I think that's the most important part of we call it RECEED. It's the UST project, wherein they built regional TBI consortium in the Philippines. And I think I believe in that program because it allows us to really collaborate with fellow TBIs, especially nowadays na parang ang game ng TBI after funding is sustainability. We are really after all the available grants and funds. And how many TBIs do we have? 60 plus. Imagine all of them applying for one grant. Kung lahat kami mag-a-apply for like a 10 million US grant. We're kind of like competitors, right? But right now with RECEED, we don't see it that way. In fact, we're co-writing. We're co-designing programs. But the promise naman of Scale NCR, so Scale NCR is the TBI consortium in Metro Manila. So our goal or our turf or our territory is really NCR. Then of course there's Icons who's handling Region 4A, diba? There's Ideas who is handling Davao, so on and so forth, right? And basically Animo Labs is a founding member.
Yeah.
Because we started Scale NCR when I was still with Kubo. So I'm still seeing yung mga documents signed by me na Kubo. Now I'm
on the other side.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, our Animo Labs is really part of the founding members of Scale NCR. And Scale NCR is the one handling Philippine Startup Week right now. So yun yung question, bakit si Dave pa rin yung Philippine Startup Week? Wala na nga siya sa Kubo. That was also a question sa akin. But I
nalipat lang sa kabila, ending kanya pa rin.
Yeah,
there you go.
It was because really Scale NCR is really handling that one. But what makes me excited about our programs at Animo Labs? It's mainly, I think personally, I already know how to incubate.
Yes.
Right? Over the last 12 years, it was, a series of experimentation, failures, failed and successful programs. And right now, after talking to several mentors, personal mentors, parang it already validated na, okay, they've redesigned a good program. Let's just release it. Now, now more than ever, parang this is really the best time to incubate startups because we already know what to do. And the success rate is a bit higher.
Yeah.
Siguro mga 2% na ngayon. Dati 1%.
Yeah. 1% better than yesterday.
Exactly, right? And that's still improvement. I guess. But of course, other programs because we are also tapping the international network already. Not necessarily investment, but of course mentorship, market, and market penetration. Yun yung mga ganong bagay na tinututukan na rin namin sa Animo Labs.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Jay, for such an amazing episode. And I wish you luck, health, and wealth during Philippine Startup Week. I know it's going to be a crusade every single time. Yep. But I know you're going to kill it, and congratulations in advance. But before I let you go, please do invite people to check you guys out in Animo Labs. And if they want to work with you, where do they go and how do they do that?
Sure. So, again, I'm part of the Animo Labs team. We are the Technology Business Incubator. And nakalimutan ko sabihin, we also have a fabrication laboratory.
Yeah.
Fab Lab in the Laguna
Fab Lab. Okay.
So, inside Fab Lab, 3D printers, laser cutters, if you want to prototype, that's essentially the place to be. No? So, if you are a
Flood
startup...
control projects. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll see. No, but in a good way, in a transparent way, no, na hindi na niloko. But going back, if you're a student startup founders and if you're near DLSU, our programs are not just open to DLSU. But of course, that's the ideal scenario dapat. But ako, ang bias ko rin naman is really community. We are inclusive here, no? So just feel free to email us at hello@animolabs.ph or visit our Facebook page, Animo Labs PH, or if you happen to go to or if you're near DLSU, just drop by. Although di ka makakapasok kasi may mga permits, just message me first.
Sa Starbucks or sa McDo, kita tayo.
Pwede naman. I'd be happy to step out and meet you guys. No, but for any players, enablers, champions out there, I think this is really the time to collaborate than compete, as what I've said a while ago.
Yep.
Now more than ever, our ecosystem needs more united collaboration with different enablers. Kasi it's, I've been doing mapping in different cities. Lagi nilang ang daming inspirational activities, ang daming awareness activities, ang daming bootcamps na pare-parehas lang. The redundancy is already there. And I ask that, let's just collaborate rather than we make our own version of, awareness. Although I know there's a good side of doing our own, but I think especially if this is really hashtag para sa bayan, and might as well work together than compete with one another. So,
absolutely.
Again, we're just located in the Manila campus. We're inside Brother Andrew Gonzalez, but we also do have our office in the Laguna campus. So,
parang mas okay sa Laguna, mas madali mag-park.
Sobrang okay. Not just the parking.
Okay.
It's like the vibes, it's super quiet. It's like parang a recollection or retreat house.
Wow.
Sobrang tahimik. So just, happy to collaborate with everyone that's listening right now. And please join Philippine Startup Week.
Yes, for
every
sure.
year. Kasi since baka this podcast naman will be there forever, no?
It will be.
Every week, every year, not every week. Why
every week? Sige, go.
Every year we do Philippine Startup Week. This year is the 7th year now. So November, it's usually every November.
Yeah.
So do check that out as well.
All right. Thanks, Dave. But before I let you go, follow us whatever podcast app you're listening to, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if also you want to see some jargon or whatever links that we discussed during the episode, it's going to be the show notes on hustleshare.com. And also, if you want to support HustleShare, just like all the other brands that support us here, please do check it out at premium.hustleshare.com. And again, Dave, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rod.
All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.